Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Everything's Messy podcast. I am your messy host, Sarah. Okay, so I try to come prepared and to not disappoint. And so this episode is no exception. We are going to get messy and we're going to talk about what's in the news as far as medical stuff right now, because there's a lot of controversy, of course. And, I like to get messy with that. So, really quick, we've got another big in-person podcast coming up. That'll be probably into June that I will release that. And I hope that you're enjoying the content so far. Last week we had on Mrs. California, Melissa Locke. If you didn't catch that, go back and listen to that from last week. That was pretty amazing. And okay, so today we're going to get into the 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 one thing, not the one thing, but this plagues a lot of women, and that is PCOS, now name change to PMOS. We're going to get into the differences and the nuances of that and why the timing. And you know me, I question and I like to get messy. So we're going to get into that. So before it was PCOS, there was a name that it had back in the 1930s. It was Stein-Leventhal Syndrome. Obviously, it was two doctors that decided it needed to be this. Back then, women's health was really concentrated around, can women reproduce or not, right? We've come a long way. We still absolutely want the best infertility information we can get and things like that. But really, back then, it was just, can this woman reproduce? Yes or no? So, and I'm reading my notes because I really went deep into this. So make sure to quote and make sure I'm making, saying all the right things. So, um, the we know, right, that it's not a lot of women who, back then, if they described something different or things like that, doctors were very quick to say it was a mental disorder or, they couldn't explain it, so they just chalked it up to being a woman, right? And we've come a little bit far in that, but when it became PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, the wonderful medical establishment, you know how I feel about that, adopted the name because ultrasounds showed sometimes that the ovaries had multiple small follicles that looked like cysts. They weren't actually cysts, they were actually called arrested follicles. But because they looked like cysts got thrown into there. And the problem was when women didn't have any sort of arrested follicles and or cysts on your ovaries, then you couldn't possibly have PCOS because that definition alone said you have something on your ovaries. We don't see it, therefore you don't have PCOS. And it's not that I'm trying to get everybody diagnosed, but we didn't have a lot of the correct information. So it was just this one word, PCOS, had the word cyst in it. So if they didn't see any of that, you couldn't possibly have that. It had to be something else or nothing at all, right? So the arrested follicles that look like cyst made it change from the doctor's name to PCOS, right? And again, you couldn't have PCOS. They wouldn't diagnose you if you didn't have the cysts. And I mean, that was a big part of this misleading label to it, right? And a lot of times, because they didn't have a category to put you in, you, of course, just dismissed and nothing was said about it and you were on your way. And that didn't solve any of the problems. So now enter 2026 and we've changed it and everybody's celebrating. And I'm not saying that I'm not celebrating. We'll get into it. I'm not saying I'm not celebrating, but I do question the timing. And that's going to get us into the messy part. But right now, PMOS, Polyendocrine Metabolic Ovarian Syndrome. So, a lot that they covered in one name, Polyendocrine Metabolic Ovarian Syndrome. And again, everyone has just celebrated, and this is amazing because then now what this does is this acknowledges that it's endocrine, which is hormonal, right? It's metabolic, it's inflammatory, it's now they list neurological. I'm kind of still, are they looking for a box to put us in? I don't like being told that we have something neurologically wrong with us, but that's what they listed under. And of course, reproductive. Okay. It's supposed to reflect this new name, this PMOS is supposed to reflect insulin signaling, which we talk about on this show, cardiovascular health, covered that. Um, Weight regulation, which I find very interesting, and cortisol, stress pathways, fertility, again, hormones, mental health, and inflammation. Boy, they just put all of it into the soup and just made those words and turned it all up. And here now we have something that we can have a diagnosis for what, checks most of these boxes and what, females that go in to see their doctors are looking for answers. Now they have this, it checks it. Okay, check, check, check. Okay, now we're going to say a PMOS. PMOS. Sounds good. Again, and everybody's celebrating. And again, I think initially I was super excited because I was hoping they were going to actually, again, treat the root cause. What's going on? Why are we dealing with this? But again, I question the timing. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Well, I'm going to get messy. But why? Because if you look at the timing of the GLP-1 explosion, and, we know that the medical establishment really isn't looking out for your best interest. They are really looking out for where the money's coming from, what big pharma can do, and things like that. Now, I'm not trying to be controversial on the level where people are going to attack me. I know a lot of people that are using GLP-1s, and that's great. I'm glad they are having success. I really am. Again, though, I'm trying to help people get to the root cause of what's going on. And to me, GLP-1s, the way that they're being prescribed and overused is just one more band-aid we're putting on the issue, on the problem. We're not getting to the root cause. So I just want to be very clear. I'm not against them. And I know there's a lot of people on, social media that say I've used these for years. I microdose. I have such good. That's great. You probably are being either under the supervision of somebody who's very responsible with it, or you yourself have learned and understand. But I don't see a lot of that. Again, in the medical community, there should be more of what might happen if you abuse these and take too much. They're having people now report side effects. They're calling it, and I'm using air quotes for those of you that aren't watching, Ozempic personality. What they're saying is people are reporting blunting of emotion, like they can't find joy in their relationships, in food, in life, like all these things. It's blunting and dulling their dopamine reward centers. It's flattening all of the joy in their relationships, love, food, and life. And this is really key. And I actually read this through Dr. Will Cole, who's on Instagram, and he has a big practice, very holistic, does a lot of peptide and lots of therapy in this way. But even he says, we don't have a GLP-1 deficiency in this country. Your body actually makes GLP-1 in the gut on its own. Now, again, if we can turn on some of these systems that have been turned off or that are dormant, that means getting to the root cause, then adding the GLP-1 for a short amount of time to get you back to where you need to be, I'm all for. That's great. But not treating any of the underlying causes and being on medication, no matter what the medication for life, we're missing a big piece of the puzzle. We're missing how to treat. And if GLP-1 is made in the gut, then what should we probably be focusing on before we do anything else? And that's healing our gut, not just a Band-Aid to fix all end all. I feel so much better. But what about this blunting dulling the dopamine centers? Why are we even messing with that? That seems, I don't know, for me, that's not something that I would want to be doing. But if we heal the gut, if we start turning on these other systems again that are dormant by good nutrition, by exercising, by, having different, again, I'm not against the peptides. There's a lot of people out there that are very knowledgeable and very skilled of stacking the peptides and what you need. But I'm not sure that even they are gonna say you need to be on it long term. You need to be doing things in conjunction with taking the peptides, eating clean, exercising, soaking in saunas to detox, all of these other things, get those pathways moving, then you are assisting, you're helping with these peptides, but it's not a one thing saves all, beats all. And that's that I think the thing that I'm questioning and I'm trying to understand, why is everybody celebrating? Okay, I get it. We've now changed the name and it checks a bunch of boxes. That's great. But if you know you have these problems, insulin signaling, what was left on the list? There was a ton. Cardiovascular health, um, cortisol and stress pathway, which I've talked openly about my cortisol issues and stress pathways. And again, I get it. I hear everybody going, Sarah, I can't just take a deep breath and it all goes away. I totally get it. That means there's a system, though, that's not talking to the other system or it's dormant, and we need to get that turned back on. I will tell you, though, the deep breathing will help. Saunas will help. The meditation, whatever that you can get into, those things are going to help. Is it going to solve everything? Probably not. Not if you're still eating badly, not if you're not exercising and getting that sweat. We need to sweat those toxins out. If you have lymphatic, systems that are not draining the way that we need them to, we need to get those turned back on. So it's not just a one thing that fixes everything. It's a myriad of things. My problem is with this explosion of GLP-1s and the amount of problems that we're starting to hear about, the blunting of the dopamine centers. Okay, we're hearing about that. We're hearing about the gastroparesis. We're hearing about other things that are happening. And a lot of people are always like, oh yeah, those are people that abuse it or don't need to be on it any longer. Well, how do you know? What are you doing that help? You have a plan? If you have a good doctor, there's a plan in place that says, I'm doing this for 6 months. In the meantime, I'm going to teach myself these really good habits that I need to make sure when I wean off of this GLP-1, I will have a system in place that I will continue to do and not need the GLP-1. Otherwise, we've heard, once you go off the GLP-1, not only do all of those symptoms come back, you gain weight back and even more than you did before you even started taking the GLP-1. So again, yes, that's great. We've changed the name. We're getting a better understanding of what it actually is. The women that have literally been suffering and they don't have cysts on their ovaries, now they can say, I have this. Okay, so now that you have this information and they've said it's insulin signaling, cardiovascular health, wait, again, I don't know that the neurological piece is in there, but maybe because the gut is connected to the brain, maybe that's where they get the neurological thing. And by the way, and I wrote this down because I really want to be very, very, very sure I do this right. So the push to rename PCOS actually started about a decade ago. Okay. And again, this is why I question the timing. So it was a decade ago, and the final consensus was actually published in the Lancet after 14 years of collaboration involving 22,000 plus patients, clinicians, experts, and over 56 organizations. So they've been sitting on this, and I'm going to say I'm going to say the experts, the powers that be, whatever it is, but they've had this information for over a decade. They have known, based on their data and the testing and these 22,000 plus patients that have come in and said, here's this, they've sat on it. And now all of a sudden, we can change the name around this interesting timing of this GLP-1 explosion. And now all of these women will get, this medication that will hopefully, what they're claiming, take care of all those things that I've listed. This is why I question. This is why I have issues. This is why I want so desperately for the conventional medical community to work hand in hand with people like Dr. Will Cole and talk about the root causes, talk about how we can actually help you. But again, this starts with you wanting to change your bad habits. changing the comfort food, changing the exercise, changing all of these things that are probably adding to, because like they've said, it's not just a reproductive ovarian issue. Okay. It's all of the things metabolically that you actually do have some control over. I'm not saying exercising and eating right is going to take care of everything. Maybe some of you are screaming into the radio or YouTube right now telling me you do everything correctly and you still have these issues. Great. How long have you changed? What diet are you doing? Are you lifting heavy? Are you sweating? Are you getting into the hot sun? Are you getting your vitamin D? I would want to see exactly the steps that you're doing. And maybe then I'm going to say, okay, make a plan, see a doctor, tell him these are the issues that you're having, but make sure he gives you an end date. And what other things did he add? Did he add in some of the natural things that I'm reading that can help with these things, right? Because it goes back to, again, cortisol, stress, all that kind of stuff, is which as a type 1 diabetic, some of these things I'm already taking, but the alpha lipoic acid, okay, the ALA, that can help with some of these things. Again, you don't want to depend on the supplement. You want to do some of these things on your own, but sometimes we need to activate it. We need to get it turned on, right? The other thing, chromium. Now, a lot of people think, okay, chromium picolinate, yeah, that's a blood sugar thing, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not saying chromium picolinate. I'm saying chromium, I lost my place. Okay, chromium nicotinate, glycinate, chelate. This is a different kind of chromium. It's extracted differently, and it's actually going to give you better, I lost my train of thought. The minerals and the things that we need to turn these symptoms on and have a better way to say, okay, now I've got a regimen. Now I have a routine. I recommend anybody who says, okay, GLP-1, great. Have you even entertained, or has your doctor even entertained the other and there's so many peptides out there. We need to really, really hone in on some of these peptides. And I'm hoping that we can get some more push and some more movement on some of these other peptides, because there really is some good data out there, including tirzepatide. It's sort of GLP-1-ish, but it seems to have a little better results. Again, none of these for long term, but tirzepatide and retatrutide, same thing. Good data's coming out. A lot of people say, oh, we don't know because there isn't enough data. You're right, there isn't. We haven't really gone in deep into the peptides, and we need to. I did a whole episode on peptides a while ago. There is a lot out there that we should be trying to get a hold of, get it clean, get it, to reputable sources, and start using that, not just the GLP-1. I'm just questioning the timing, why they had the data for 10 years. And now what as women, as we become our own health advocates, what are we supposed to do now, knowing that it's insulin signaling, it's cardiovascular health, it even could be reproductive health. It's, again, I question the mental health aspect of it, but we do know inflammation. I do episodes all the time on inflammation, especially chronic inflammation. It is completely wrecking you in more ways than you can even imagine. So again, you now have a list, and they're going to say, okay, you've been diagnosed PMOS. You want to make sure that you're getting things to support your system, but GLP-1s can't just be it. You'll feel better. You'll be like, okay, this is great, especially after the first few days and you get over the nausea. But you're still not treating the root cause. And that is all I'm trying to come from, a place of just, okay, you know what to do now. Insulin signaling. Well, that means that we need to get a hold of, is it insulin resistance? Is we're not eating the right foods to turn that up or down or off? Do we need to take a break on carbs? Do we need to look at more fiber? Do we like, there is just so much, right? Treating, not even treating, but health itself is so nuanced. Trying to be healthy. You guys have heard me talk about all of the things as I'm your guinea pig, trying to try all of the things that are out there. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. My husband likes to say sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. But either way, we want answers. And I get that. And I get the frustration. I get I just don't want to think about it anymore. Just give me the medicine and I want to just get back to my life. And I totally get that. But you are looking at your life as a whole and you want to be able to get old and be healthy. And that is not going to be solely with a GLP-1. It just isn't. It just isn't. You have to do the things that are going to bring you the longevity, getting inflammation under control, getting blood sugar under control, getting heart cardio under control. Yes, and even weight management under control. But all of those things, it's going to be like a domino effect. And you got to make sure we line up those dominoes in the right order so then it does start to trickle and fall. Because then otherwise it's just chaos and there's no pathway to getting that whole picture of all of those things in check. And that is the that is the nuance of it. That is the crap of it. And as women, as I've talked about how we are more affected by autoimmune disease and chronic illness and all of these things, yes. Did I want to jump on the bandwagon and totally celebrate that they finally changed it and we have answers? Yes. But what's the next part of that? It can't just be, now here's your prescription for GLP-1. It has to be something very nuanced for you, which means you have to put in the work. You have to find the time. And I get it. I get nobody wants to do that. But starting with small, good habits every day, you're going to get that compound effect. You're going to get what's coming next. Like all of that matters. It's not going to matter tomorrow. It's going to matter 2 years from now. The consistency, not the perfection. The treating the root cause, not the masking. Making sure you're getting the support where you need it. Figuring out, okay, I tried this, didn't work. Try this, didn't work. Oh, this one did work. Okay, now we're going to start this and this is going to go into our good habit file. We can all do it. I'm still on my journey. Absolutely. We can all do it. And yes, even I would love a quick fix. Absolutely. It just isn't out there. But movement, sunlight, good nourishing, deep nourishing food, deep sleep, meditation, checking in, having support, having fun, getting all of that dopamine that you need in natural ways, putting in the hard work, seeing it pay off. Again, not tomorrow. It's going to take time. That compound interest takes a while to build. So with all of that, we got kind of messy and a little controversial, as I like to do. Again, for all of the women that are specifically suffering from PCOS and now PMOS, and you've heard now what that means, how that changes, be as upfront as you can with your doctor. And if your doctor is only saying GLP-1s, you have the wrong doctor, right? There needs to be another person in your corner, whether that's functional, holistic, a nurse practitioner who really knows these things, whatever it's going to be. Do a consultation with and I am not sponsored or anything with Dr. Will Cole. I just love his information. I love the things that he puts out. If you haven't heard of him, go look him up on Instagram. He puts out content every day. He's talking about all these things. He even talks about how he has helped women who have had PCOS symptoms turn it around because they've gotten to the root cause. Start small. Start with good habits. Again, gut health. I've said it before. The gut, we used to say was the second brain. I really believe now it is the first point of contact. It is the first brain. And it sends all of the messages to our brain. either way, they're working in conjunction. And if one is not hitting, then neither is the other, and vice versa. So really think about your gut health. And not just, let me add this little tidbit. There's been a lot of popularity around these probiotic sodas that have come out. And I guess if that's all you can get your hands on, okay, drink it. But it's not as healthy as it claims it to be. It doesn't really give you the things, you need the cultures, the enzymes, and that's not really found in a soda product. And I realize it's probably something, but it's not. We need to coat our stomachs. We need to be getting those good bacteria in our stomach. We need to be making sure that we're not putting anything else bad in there, which soda kind of goes in that category. I'm just saying. But I'd love to hear if you've had actually really good results with any of the probiotic soda that's out there. Again, is it better than drinking a Coke? I guess. But really, we should be going towards the, Greek yogurt, the kimchi, the sauerkraut, all of the things that we can get into our system and get a hold of whatever it might be in there, parasites or just bad bacteria or whatever it may be. We want to get it, flush it out, and put that good bacteria flora back in us because that is right there. You would start to feel a million times better. So, that's it for Everything's Messy podcast. Hopefully, we will have that in person episode out to you soon. And until next time, keep it messy.